Hello. So on Reddit, Henry Chess asks a very important question. People keep saying that I should understand the openings rather than memorizing the lines. But how? How do I gain understanding of my openings? That's a great question. That's a great question. So before I start answering this question, we must understand what chess expertise means. Chess experts, through the years of chess accumulation and pattern accumulation, change their perceptions. They perceive the board differently than amateurs, and that explains their expertise. They can instantly understand the key elements of a position because they've seen similar positions before. They have seen similar chunks and patterns before, so they know instantly what to do in a given position. That explains, for example, that they're also great in playing blitz and bullet and rapid, even simultaneous. If you ask Magnus Carlsen, he will tell you he's instantly seeing the best position, best move in any given position, right? So this is the first point. Chess expertise involves years of study of typical patterns and structures, and this knowledge base is giving an expert a great access and shortcut of what to do in any given position, right? This is actually a shortcut to reduce the search space. Otherwise, the game is so vast. Chess is so vast. There are so many options to look for, right? So you must have some sort of a constraint. You must have some sort of limitations so that it doesn't get overwhelmed, your search space. So this high level of knowledge base, cross references, chunks, patterns, templates, and even productions, right, allow an expert to basically cut down the search space and have an instant access of what are the most likely moves, strongest moves in any given position, right? So this is a very important start. How do you apply this to openings? Of course, there's a clear path for this. There's a clear connection, right? Ideally, we should play certain openings, maybe a narrow repertoire, but we know it by heart. So there's a higher chance for us to see certain structures, certain patterns that we've seen before, right? Typical plans, tabias, for example, right? Even certain endgames from our openings should be studied, right? Given this definition of chess expertise, it makes perfect sense that we want to connect our opening to middle game and even to the end game, because this way of learning knowledge information is also great for memory consolidation because we are forming connections between different parts of the game. And maybe by choosing a narrow repertoire but knowing it by heart all the way to the end, right, even to the end games, we're also having a higher chance of applying our patterns and our chunks to the position. Okay, so given all this, I should also say that there's always a balance between memorization and understanding, right? Because chess is a vast game. We need memorization. We need chessable courses out there, right? We need those repetitions as well, because otherwise it's so difficult to reinvent the wheel over and over again on the board, right? We have to trust the slow and evolutionary process of opening theory evolution as well, right? So we have to memorize moves as well. But memorization is not going to be enough because ultimately, right, you will see some new moves. Your opponent will do something different. And then, right, you need to rely on general principles, rules of thumb, typical plans, typical breaks, typical exchanges in the middle games, right? You're on your own at some point. And then you need those patterns and chunks that you learn, folks. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by showing you some positions. Okay? Imagine that you're playing this Caro-Kann Tartakover opening, right? Let's say you're a Caro-Kann player and you start playing this opening with black, okay? This knight f6 line, which is of course very popular recently. Takes, you take with the e-pawn, right? How do you get to know this opening and learn and understand this opening with black? That's my question. We have to form connections. We have to understand, already looking at this pawn structure, for example, what will be a typical endgame look like, right? So this is also quite beautiful because you're connecting to a potential endgame. So for example, look at this structure. I will magically make those pieces disappear. There's only kings and pawns left in the same pawn structure, right? I'm keeping the pawn structure because that's the least likely element to change, right? Pawn structure is usually stable for a long time. So it makes perfect sense for the chunking hypothesis to also study this potential endgame. Who is winning here? You tell me. Who is winning and why? Right, now we're going through endgame principles. It's white who is winning because white, right, can create a majority or pass pawn on the queen side. Is a 4 versus 3 healthy majority on the queen side. But look at black's majority, right? They are crippled because of the double pawns. Black has those double pawns, so they are crippled. This majority on the king side. So black cannot generate a pass pawn. So black is losing objectively. If you don't trust me, please play this against your friend or against some engine with white and try to convert this, right? So this information is so important for us. This is a chunk, right? Now we actually encode this entire endgame as a single unit of a chunk, right? This way we're having a shortcut. Now we understand, for example, that excessive piece trades are not good for us with black, right? If you exchange all the pieces, leave with the king and pawn endgame, then you're losing this endgame. This will shape your entire middle game strategy, right? For example, this is a position. This is a game between Alekhine, yeah? So this is actually Alekhine game with the black pieces. From the same pawn structure. Check this out, right? You understand that it's coming from the same Tartakova pawn structure, Karo. Now, of course, I forgot to mention that if you look at the advantages of those pawns, it's actually helping the black king, right? Black king is secure because there's an extra pawn protecting our king. So our king will be safer in the middle game, right? That's the point. And look at the white king. White king is not as safe usually in this pawn structure compared to the black king. So this is also great for middle game strategy. For example, here, should black exchange the queens or not? Right now you see the connections. Now you know that the pure endgame is losing for us and our king is safer, thus no queen trade, right? I also give you big information there, right? I made a course on Chessable about this. The art of exchanging pieces. You don't exchange the queens here with black. Why? Because of this connection with the king safety, right? So, of course, Alekhine didn't exchange the queens in this position. He went queen h5, a very strong move. And look at how the game finished. King f1, I will show you this beautiful finish, by the way. Just for the fun, h3, and here comes the Alekhine combination. He is such a great combinator, of course, and after f4, check this out. What's the main point of this move? It's a board vision, folks. Queen b5 is coming, and Alekhine is actually pinning that rook on d3, and the finish is coming now. Can you check the next, see the next move? Queen takes c4. Powerful, yeah? If you take the queen, then you get mated. Isn't it beautiful? So he couldn't take the queen, of course, but right, he's losing in the end. He's losing the rook. Alekhine took the pawn on d4, takes, and white resigned in this position. So going back, this is a great way of studying your openings, which means black is already much better in the middle game and we have attacking chances. So we should generally keep dynamism in this Karo-Khan Tartakova line, right? So this is also a great pathway for you to study your openings. There are, of course, typical breaks, typical middle game plans as well that you should, of course, know. But in general, right, this is the right way of studying it. It's also called decomposition method, by the way. Yeah, you take any opening, you remove all the pieces from the board, just like this, and you can gradually put pieces. Maybe you can put one bishops for both sides and play the endgame like that. Maybe a couple of knights for both sides. A rook endgame, how does it look like? So you can play around with those structures and certain structures and gradually get it more complex. You see, that also makes sense for the chunking hypothesis because we are going from simple to complex while also always forming connections in our narrow repertoire, right? So we have a higher chance to see those structures that we studied deeply, we processed deeply, folks. So, of course, having said all this, you should also have a central filing system, yeah? So you should keep your files somewhere online. It's very, very easy, of course, these days. You can update whenever there's a novelty. You can always update them because it's very difficult to keep them all in your head. So it's good to sort of allocate them in a filing system. So you update it gradually, right? So you play games, you look at your certain teams, certain structures from your openings, and gradually you form those connections. And basically, in the end, you come and you become a better player. You gain expertise in this area, and you become a formidable opponent for those Players, because they know that you know your openings deeply and you're a very dangerous player in that opening, and this way you become a universally good chess player. I hope this was a good explanation. Please send me your comment if there are further points. Thank you.